This day in sports history. It's June 26th, and on this day in 2003, Kyle Korver was drafted to play in the NBA and then traded for a piece of office equipment. With the 51st pick in the 2003 draft, the New Jersey Nets selected Kyle Korver out of Creighton. But apparently, the Nets did not give much consideration for actually keeping him. The Nets GM at the time was Rod Thorne, and he did not think the kid would make it out of training camp, but thought he might have a little trade value. The Nets were a bit cash-strapped at this point and needed some money to put a team on the court for the Summer League. So they optioned Korver to Philadelphia for $125,000. Here's Korver talking about that moment in a 2019 commencement address he humorously gave at Creighton.
I later found out they used that money to pay for the entry fee for their Summer League team, and with leftover money, they bought a copy machine. What's your trade value? Apparently mine is a copy machine. But it's okay, because a couple years ago, that copy machine broke.
Yeah, Korver outlasted the circa 2003 copier, which, to be fair, could also send and receive faxes, so it was a multitasker. Korver was more one-dimensional, but he did it very well, working himself into a perimeter threat and spending 17 seasons with 6 different teams. Sure, that copier worked tirelessly and without much complaint other than the occasional clamoring about needing more toner, but Korver brought picturesque rainbows into NBA arenas around the country. He led the league in three-point field goal percentage 4 of his 17 seasons. He was an All-Star in 2015 and was considered one of the best sixth men in the league during his tenure. And he finished his career hitting 43% of his shots from beyond the arc, and is still 10th best in NBA history at this point for three-point percentage. Let's keep the theme of surprising draft day trades going with what happened on this day in 1996 when Kobe Bryant was drafted by the Charlotte Hornets. Sure, you thought Kobe spent his entire career as a Los Angeles Laker, but he did, for the briefest of moments, start out as a Hornet. Kobe was taken with the 13th pick out of Lower Merion High School in Philadelphia. At the time, high school players were a bit of an unknown commodity. It had been done before to great success. Moses Malone was the first, and he had an outstanding career. In the '95 draft, Kevin Garnett had been selected straight out of high school and had a good rookie season. But did a high school kid have the physicality and the maturity to compete in an 82-game NBA season? So there were question marks about Kobe. Well, of course, the answer was yes, but it was still a bigger crapshoot than taking a guy who had played college ball for 4 years. Bryant was surprised to be taken by the Hornets, since he had never worked out for them. Charlotte was a 41-win team in '96. Alonzo Mourning was traded to Miami, getting Glenn Rice in the deal. They had the aging Robert Parrish and the pedestrian Matt Geiger in the middle, so they needed some inside help. And that's when the Lakers came into the mix. LA's GM Jerry West really wanted to bring Shaquille O'Neal to the Lakers, but they had Vlade Divac plugging that spot at the moment, so West cleared out the middle by offering up Divac for Bryant in a straight-up deal. It seemed like a good solution to the Hornets' big man problems, and so they pulled the trigger on that deal. The trade was made on the 26th, but was not finalized until July 11th. That also freed up LA to make a move with Orlando to bring Shaq Diesel to the West Coast later in the month. Divac turned out to be a good addition for the Hornets and helped Charlotte win 50 games in back-to-back seasons. But there is the lingering what-if question. What if the Hornets had seen the potential in Kobe? What might have been and how different would the NBA landscape have been if Kobe had stayed in Charlotte? This episode is brought to you by the Sterling Soap Company. Sterling Soap is 100% natural, and with a variety of bath soaps, shave soaps, beard balm, lotions, cologne, and many more personal care products in a large variety of scents, you're sure to find something that's perfect for you or that special someone in your life. Check them out at sterlingsoap.com. On this day in 1992, it was a fairy tale ending that the brothers Grimm would have had a hard time writing about. It was the UEFA Euro Final between a now unified German team, they'd played as West Germany since 1954, and Denmark. Now, the Danes were not even supposed to be in this tournament. They had not won their qualifying tournament, finishing second to Yugoslavia. But Yugoslavia was in the middle of a war and in the midst of breaking into 6 different countries, and so they withdrew from the tournament, opening up a spot for Denmark. Now, Denmark was not exactly a Cinderella story once group play got going in this one, tying England and then losing to Sweden. That was not a surprise considering that most of the players on the Danish team had been on vacation and not working out. The Danish coach was in the midst of a full kitchen reno when he learned that he had to get the band back together quickly. But a 2-1 win against France in the final group stage match vaulted them into the semis against a powerful Netherlands team. Now, the Dutch had entered the tournament as one of the favorites to win it all, and they were heavily favored against the Danes, but the match ended 2-2 after extra time and went to PKs. Denmark keeper Peter Schmeichel managed to save 1 goal, and Denmark advanced 5-4 on PKs into the final held on this day in '92. So here was Denmark against Germany, a team mostly composed of the West German team that had won the 1990 World Cup. Schmeichel was brilliant in this one, saving a couple of early chances. Denmark scored first in the 19th minute and held that advantage into halftime. Schmeichel kept up his top-level play, denying a header by Jurgen Klinsmann, and then the Danes struck like a bolt of lightning from Thor's hammer.
Oh, and Christensen kicked out then. This is Vilfort! Oh, it's in! It is in! And it's Kim Vilfort!
Now, did Vilfort get away with a handball? He most certainly did, but no VAR in the 90s, of course, and the goal counted. Vilfort's goal was like Denmark's tournament run. It ricocheted off the post and by the barest of margins went in. But once it did, it had a devastating effect. It was an unlikely 2-0 win for Denmark, who won the cup in a tournament that they did not even qualify for. One interesting fact, this is one of the last games played where the goalkeeper could handle the ball with his hands on a pass back from a teammate. That rule changed at the start of July 1992 to allow the goalie to only play a passed ball from one of his own with his hands if it had been delivered with a head or a chest. On this day in 1959, it was a shocking upset in the boxing ring. Heavyweight champ Floyd Patterson stepped in against the Swede Ingemarr Johansson for the first of what would be 3 fights between these two. Patterson was a heavy favorite in this one, but in the lead-up to the fight, Johansson kept telling anybody who would listen with a microphone or a pen and pad that his right hand was powerful and he was going to drop it on Patterson's head. It took only a few minutes for Johansson's prognostication to actually come true. Fighting in front of 30,000 at Yankee Stadium, the two boxers felt each other out in the first 2 rounds, but in the 3rd round, Patterson oddly dropped his guard and Johansson dropped Patterson. What happened next was a bit like an old scratched record. Johansson delivered a shot, Patterson hit the mat, Patterson regained his feet to the cheers of the partisan Yankee Stadium crowd. Johansson delivered a shot, Patterson hit the mat, rinse and repeat. Johansson knocked Patterson to the canvas 7 times in the 3rd round before the referee stepped in to stop the fight. Johansson became just the 3rd European to win the heavyweight title and the first since Primo Carnera 26 years earlier. Patterson and Johansson would meet in the ring 2 more times, with Patterson avenging his loss in this one a year later and defending that title in '61. On this day in 1982, Bob Gilder hit the most famous golf shot you've never heard about. There are shots that have become part of golf lore and are talked about consistently. Gene Sarazen's double eagle at the 1935 Masters is an example of that. Jack's putt at the '86 Masters, Hogan's 1-iron shot at the 1950 U.S. Open that we've talked about on this show. But how about Gilder's double eagle at the manufacturer's Hanover Westchester Classic? It happened in the 3rd round of the tournament. Gilder was playing the par 5 18th hole and had 251 yards to the cup after his tee shot. His shot landed on the green, hopped 3 times, and dropped into the cup for a 2. The crowd around the green erupted in cheers, but Gilder could not see what happened. Even the crowd reaction didn't give him confirmation. He said later that a shot he'd hit on the 9th was beautiful, coming to rest 10 feet from the pin, but did not draw a single clap from the gallery. His double eagle to close out his round gave him a 6-shot lead heading into the final round. He won the next day by 5 shots for one of his 6 PGA Tour wins. And just 2 years and 2 days removed from when Detroit's Jim Northrup did it, on this day in 1970, Baltimore Oriole Frank Robinson belted 2 grand slams in the same game. Like Northrup, Robinson hit his grand slams in back-to-back innings, hitting his first one in the 5th and then the encore in the 6th. The script in the 6th was the same as it had been in the 5th inning, with Dave McNally walking, Don Buford picking up a single, and then Paul Blair walking to load the bases. Interesting thing, though, Robinson was in severe pain. The day before, Robinson hurt his back in an extra inning game with Boston, making a game-saving catch in the 13th. When he came to bat in the 14th, he could not even swing the bat and had to bunt instead. He was only able to play on this day after taking pain-killing injections between innings. At the time, Robinson was the 6th major leaguer to hit a pair of slams in the same game. It's only been done 13 times in the history of Major League Baseball. And time now for today's That's Got Nothing to Do with Sports fun fact. On this day in 1974 in Troy, Ohio, Marsh supermarket cashier Sharon Buchanan rang up a 10-pack of Juicy Fruit and heard a beep. That tiny pack of gum was the first barcode scanned for purchase. The customer was Clyde Dawson, the head of research and development at Marsh Supermarkets, and the pack of gum was specifically chosen because many wondered if the machine would have trouble reading the item's very small barcode. This has been an original Thrive Suite production.